This is the Deseret News, Sunday edition, when your family needs to know more.
Good morning and welcome to the Deseret News Sunday edition. I'm Dave McCann. Each week we're highlighting issues that fall into 6 categories of editorial emphasis: family, faith, education, values in media and culture, causes related to helping the poor, and financial responsibility. This morning our focus is on education. The recession and technology forged major innovations. The number of students taking online courses has skyrocketed. And now there's a debate over whether it's time to change the traditional college credit hour system. Some education reformers say diplomas should be based on knowledge acquired, not credit hours accrued. Take a look at this.
College student Jessica Sanders' schedule at LES Business College is packed.
I'm taking 18 credit hours and I'm working 20 hours a week. So it's kind of a big load.
With little time and money to spare, she wants to make sure she's getting the most out of her college experience. 6
out of my 8 classes are grades, and then 2 of them are pass or fail. It's a good deal.
Sanders will eventually graduate with a GPA and the required credit hours. But a new education model is emerging in higher education where those don't exist.
Through competency-based education, grades can be done away with because the student has to prove that they can actually do the task at hand, whatever it is.
Celia Baker is a former visiting professor. She now writes for the Deseret News and has talked to experts around the country about competency education.
We now have a couple of universities back east who have moved entirely away from the credit hour,
including Southern New Hampshire University's College for America. In March, they received regional accreditation, the gold standard of educational quality. Their online programs are based on learning outcomes instead of seat time.
You do one form or another of showing your competency in the subject area and receiving credit for that.
WGU is an integral part of our higher education system in Utah.
Western Governors University pioneered the competency-based education model. The nonprofit, fully accredited online university charges a flat rate of $3,000 every 6 months. So the faster you progress, the more you save. The focus also ensures students possess the skills needed in the workplace.
This is a piece that's been missing in higher education, where students submit a transcript that shows classes they have taken and grades they got, but doesn't necessarily prove that they can do certain things.
Employers have been complaining for some time about graduates entering the workforce unprepared. Check this out. According to the U.S. Department of Education, 69% of college graduates could not perform basic tasks like comparing opposing views or comparing the cost per ounce of different foods. But if you look at grades, students are performing well. A significantly higher percentage of grades are A's, 43% in 2008 compared to just 15% in 1961. Dr. Robert Mendenhall is the president of Western Governors University. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
What do you think of those numbers? There are a lot more A's being handed out, but maybe not enough A students coming out.
Well, certainly there's been a great deal of grade inflation over the years, and I think grades therefore come to mean less and less actually as you graduate.
Are you on the cutting edge of where education is going with online and competency over credit hours?
Well, I think online everyone is doing now, but certainly this competency-based education has great promise for the future. You know, the governor started WGU 15 years ago, really focused on can we demonstrate what students know and can do, and that's really the core of competency-based education.
Who are your students?
So our students tend to be older.
Yeah.
The average age is 37. Most of them are working full-time while they're attending class. Most of them would be considered underserved, 75% low income or minority or first generation in their family to attend college, or rural students that don't have access. But really the full range of students. You know, we had a surgeon from Duke University come and get an MBA with us. But generally speaking, you know, they haven't had a degree yet. They have some college, never completed a degree, and they need to come back to get that degree.
And your message, as I understand it, is, look, come back and get your degree, and you don't have to start at square one, which I think probably keeps a lot of people from picking it back up.
Well, the core of competency-based education is to recognize that students come to education knowing different things, and they learn at different rates. So rather than say every student needs 120 credit hours and every course takes 4 months, we essentially say come and demonstrate what you know, spend your time learning what you don't know, graduate when you demonstrate all of the competencies required for a degree.
Let's take a look at a Gallup poll and some interesting numbers that it points out. Even though online education is relatively new, most Americans seem to rate it positively when it comes to value and options. 33% actually think online is better than traditional classroom-based education, but they also see downsides. According to this poll, Americans tend to think online education provides less high-quality instruction and fewer well-qualified instructors. They don't think the testing is as rigorous, that grading can be trusted, and they don't think it provides a degree that will be viewed positively by employees. Now, how do you counter all of that? Because those are legit stigmas that I'm sure you face.
You know, I would say, first of all, some of that's true for a lot of online education. There certainly are providers that don't do a great job of that. I think WG is very much distinguished from those enterprises. First of all, in terms of the testing, you know, our students all do proctored testing. So they're being proctored. We used to have them all go to proctored testing centers. We now proctor them online in their homes. There's biometric software to prove who the student is. I think the tests, certainly in our case, are developed by psychometricians and assessment specialists. So they actually have more validity and reliability than those that would be developed, you know, by faculty members that are trained in economics or marketing, but not in assessment. And we've found that employers, you know, we do our own survey. The Harris Poll people did a survey of employers of our graduates. 96% of employers said graduates are exceeding their expectations, and 57% said they're better than the graduates they're hiring from other places. So I think, you know, there's good and bad classroom education. There's good and bad online education.
You've seen steady growth both before, during, and after the recession. Where do you guys go from here? What does Western Governors University? Is it just endless?
Well, you know, we've had 30% compound annual growth for the last 5 years. Our target really isn't to see how fast we can grow. We're a private nonprofit. We really were created by the governors to create an affordable supplement to state higher education systems. Our target is really the 37 million adults in America that have some college and no degree. It's 23% of the American workforce, and frankly, their jobs are going away. They need additional education. They're going to be in the workforce another 20 or 30 years. So we just do workforce degrees. We just do business, IT, healthcare, teacher education. So our goals are less about enrollment numbers and more about, can we help these individuals gain a degree and a better paying job and provide for their families better than they are currently.
Listening to the governor's State of the State address, where education is emphasized, and I'm sure you feel this way too, Western Governors University pushing the idea that education really is the liberating factor out there that can change a life.
It really is. You know, we survey our students. Students who have graduated in the last 3 years from WGU on average are making $9,000 a year more than before. If they graduated 3 to 5 years ago, they're making $18,000 more. In many cases, that's, you know, 50% or more increase from what they were making. That's the difference between a family supporting wage and not being able to support a family. So it's really important in the lives of individuals.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, continued success. Dr. Mendenhall, thank you for being with us this morning. You can read more on this topic on the Deseret News. Up next, a parenting conference designed to uplift families. The First Lady of Utah will join us when the Deseret News Sunday edition continues on KSL. Welcome back. To have a strong, viable state, we must have strong, viable families, the mantra of Uplift Families. Uplift Families is the official initiative of Utah's First Lady and a nonprofit foundation dedicated to providing resources for parents that can improve parenting skills. It's a pleasure to welcome First Lady Jeanette Herbert to the program this morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me on.
A mom and a grandma, you must know everything.
Oh, you kind of think you do sometimes, but it's a challenge. It's always a challenge, and it's probably one of the biggest challenges our parents face today is, those trying to develop those parenting skills, know where they're at. It's kind of a learning curve.
Sure. What do you wish you knew back in the day when you were chasing around the little Herberts?
Oh, what I wish I knew. Well, it's interesting because I remember when I first was having children and coming upon some of those problems, and I can remember going down to Education Week and actually taking the classes down there that really helped me out, right. by trying to find solutions to some of those dilemmas. You're born into this, the kids don't come with an instruction manual, and so you're just kind of on your own. And all the parents out there want to be good parents. I wanted to be the best parent. Sure. And I think there again, you kind of look down through your kids, and that's why they have that birth order book and all this, because I think a lot of it is affected by the way they have been parented. Your first one, you're a lot more controlling of. Sure. You want them to be perfect. So they end up being perfectionists. Sometimes they get a little neurotic because of that, Yep. By the end one, my kids call him the golden child because it's like, he got everything. So.
Free pass. What about the stress that comes to women that feel they have to be perfect, and how does education help combat that?
Well, I think that's the problem. That's what is important, is trying to keep that balance, because we don't want women to feel more stressed. We don't want to put more on their plate. We don't want them to feel terrible, like we think they're terrible parents. The thing I found is that by better educating ourselves as far as parents, it actually helps take that stress factor out, because a lot of times we're doing things that are causing negative results from our kids. And so if we can find methods and things that we can do in our parenting that change that dynamic, it actually helps bring more love and harmony into the home, and so we're not as stressed out all the time.
Now, from your husband's perspective on kids and the importance of women at home and moms, certainly, as he's made evident in a lot of the things he's talked about, you are certainly the supreme being in his life.
Well, I'd like to think so.
This parenting conference coming up Saturday at Utah Valley, how important is it for women to attend?
Well, there again, my message is to try to get them engaged, to realize that with any other profession, you end up educating yourself. You read, you study to try to better yourself at that profession. Probably the most important profession they will ever have is that of being a mother and being a parent. And we're inviting husbands there too, so this is just mothers and fathers both. But so they don't need to get stressed out. There's answers out there, there's solutions. The parents, I think, can find better ways to do things that make it more effective. And I think the one thing they need to remember is we're not just raising their children to be good children, we're raising them to be good adults. They need to be raising them thinking of the future and how is this child going to benefit and be a citizen that's going to make a difference in the world rather than one that's causing the problem. So,
what was easier for you, being a mom or being a grandmother?
Oh, definitely being a grandmother. It's the best, and there again, I like to stay very involved in our grandkids' lives, and I like them to feel that they have a relationship. I think a grandparent plays a very important role with their families anymore. They have that role of being able to sit down. They can be a little bit less judgmental, The kids feel like they can talk to them maybe a little easier, and so I think it's really important that grandparents have a good relationship with the grandkids.
I've seen you on the T-ball fields of Orem,
yes.
So I know you practice what you preach. Mrs. Herbert, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being with us. More information as well on the parenting conference at Utah Valley Convention Center on DeseretNews.com. One of the challenges parents face is figuring out how to let go so kids can figure out how to solve problems on their own. Research shows many children have become dependent on mom and dad, but instead of making their lives simpler, it becomes harder. Lois Collins writes about this in depth on DeseretNews.com, including what child behavior experts believe is the best way to empower children. Up next, the growing popularity of Bitcoins. What are they, and are they here to stay? We'll show you how a Utah couple is putting the new currency to the test. Welcome back. Have you heard about Bitcoin? It's growing in popularity. Unlike dollars or euros, Bitcoins are a monetary system outside the control of any one nation. They're entirely digital and can be used like money, mostly online. We met a couple who's been using Bitcoins every day. In fact, it's the only money they're using right now.
Managing finances is typically tough for young couples.
The idea is to push the outer limits of what's possible using Bitcoin.
Try doing it spending only virtual currency.
Hi everybody, it's Becky and Austin from Life on Bitcoin. We have a big announcement to share.
Becky and Austin Craig are living the first 3 months of married life on Bitcoin and on camera for a documentary.
I have become extremely sold on Bitcoin as a solid, stable platform for money.
Now, 2 months of life on Bitcoin at selected restaurants, grocers, and gas stations in Utah County. Merchants willing to work with the cryptocurrency. They exchange paychecks for Bitcoins on an internet marketplace.
So we're a little limited, but we're fine, you know, and we could keep eating at the places we're eating and keep shopping at the places we're shopping for a long time and be okay.
Bitcoin is the first decentralized peer-to-peer digital currency. You keep Bitcoins in an online wallet.
Right now, it's pretty stable around 120.
On this October day, one Bitcoin was worth $123, up 20% in 3 months.
This is not really a Bitcoin, but this is an easier way to envision it and to understand it by my saying there's a code on here that's valuable for half a Bitcoin.
I'm nervous about food. As soon as we leave Utah County, we're starting over, we don't have food.
The Craigs are driving to New York, then flying to Stockholm, Sweden, with tickets purchased from a German travel agent that deals in Bitcoin.
Each of these places that we're going to are places where people did, in fact, reach out to us and say, hi, I'm a Bitcoin enthusiast, I'm a Bitcoin entrepreneur, I'm somebody who believes in Bitcoin.
During their travels, they'll discover more businesses using Bitcoin and negotiate with those that don't. When they get home,
I'm super excited to go back to good old American currency just for its convenience.
But they believe in Bitcoin and plan to make it part of their financial future. Michael DeGroot covers finances for the Deseret News. Welcome back.
It's great to be here.
What do you think of this Bitcoin?
Bitcoins are fascinating. You're looking at what might be the future of money, and it's exciting.
Is it really that serious? Is it really the future of what you and I are going to use to buy stuff?
The different experts I've talked to, they think Bitcoin might be it, but if not Bitcoin, something similar to it, or maybe an add-on to it, might be the type of virtual money that some people might eventually use every day.
Where does Bitcoin get its value?
Well, it gets its value from what its users think it's worth. So in other words, if all of a sudden they thought it was worthless, it would be worthless. If all of a sudden they thought it's worth $100 per Bitcoin, it would be worth that. And it's kind of how it's exchanged, and it's in value related to other currencies.
Now, we saw this couple dealing with Bitcoins in that story. Is this a growing phenomenon?
It is growing, but still, the difficulties they're facing is it's not accepted by everybody yet. I mean, there's a law firm in Arizona that accepts Bitcoins. As soon as they get their Bitcoins, however, they convert them immediately to dollars. They're not going to hold on to them. And so that's what you're dealing with a lot, is having to trade back and forth between Bitcoins and other currencies.
Take a look at this graphic that shows the value of Bitcoin last October was $11.17. This October, $132.31. And over the past year, it reached as high as $237.57. What does that tell you?
Well, that tells me I should have invested in Bitcoins a long time ago, but it's the investment part that's driving it up and down. It's become a speculative market more than just a currency. People are hoping that it takes, becomes more popular and that it becomes, reaches up in value. But right now, that's what's driving it up and down more than just being a normal currency market.
Let's say someone watching this interview is going, all right, I'd like to check out this Bitcoin. Where do you even start to get involved with Bitcoins?
Well, there's several websites you can go to online to invest. I would recommend people that they do search on the web, they investigate the different things and take it cautiously before they invest.
And as far as where we're going to be talking about Bitcoins 1 year from now, we've gone from October to this October to the next October. Forecast the future for us.
Forecast the future.
It's a tough question, but you're very smart.
Well, I'm not buying Bitcoins.
Okay.
But everybody I talk to about Bitcoins, from huge investments to very, very tiny investments. I don't know where it's going. It's so volatile. It could be high a year from now, and the next day it could be low again if it continues its moving up and down.
All right, appreciate your insight, Michael DeGroot. You can read more about Bitcoins from Michael DeGroot on DeseretNews.com. Very interesting.
The epic tale of Noah and the Ark, starring Russell Crowe, is in trouble with test audiences. Crowdfunding is getting a lot more personal, and poverty depletes brain power. Here's this week's roundup of The Pulse.
This morning we introduced The Pulse this week with Allison Pond, national editor of the Deseret News. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Noah and the Ark. I've never even heard about this. What's going on with this production?
So this is a story we've been following this week out of Hollywood, where director Darren Aronofsky has directed a new blockbuster film on telling the story of Noah and the Ark. They are testing it right now with audiences that are Jewish audiences in New York, Christian audiences in Arizona, and a general audience in California. And they're getting some pushback from some believers about, they're using all of these great special effects and everything, but how true to the biblical story is it going to be, and how willing is director Aronofsky going to be to make changes based on this feedback?
Okay, all right. Crowdfunding. We have an issue. We like to put it out there. We like people to give us money. Is that getting out of hand?
Well, you've heard of crowdfunding for a cause like cancer or raising funds for something like that. But crowdfunding for personal needs is now becoming more popular as people turn to the internet to try to get money for everything from their education to health needs to even funding their own honeymoon.
Poverty and our brain. You've been researching this, and there's a lot of significant correlations between the two.
Yeah, our reporter Devin Merling covered this week. It was an article that was published in Science magazine, and it talks about how among poor people, sometimes we think that poor people are poor because they've made bad decisions. But this turns that on its head, saying that there are certain stresses involved with being poor that can actually make it more difficult to make good decisions. And so the causality may be in the other direction.
Fascinating read. All right, what's coming up?
Well, we are with Halloween right around the corner. We're looking at the evolution of scary movies and what they tell us about ourselves and our society and the moral tales that they tell. We have some other stories on faith-based housing, dormitories, and what the legal challenges to those might be, and workplace bullies and what you need to know and what you can do about that.
All right, you can find it all at DeseretNews.com. Allison, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
Have a great Sunday. That does it for this week's edition of Deseret News Sunday Edition. I'm Dave McCann. Music and the spoken word is coming up next, and we hope to see you back here again next Sunday morning.